Hello and welcome to Back to the Feature with Evan and Gabby. Double features, double takes. This is the podcast where we talk about two movies, one new, one older, what makes them a good pair, and how the history of films influences the present.
I'm Evan.
And I'm Gabby. And today we are discussing Sentimental Value and
The Royal Tenenbaums.
Two films about dads just trying to make good with their adult children. And we are joined today by our friends Connor Angus and Lindsey Beth Meyers from Hidden Rabbits. Please welcome our guests.
Hello.
Hello.
Were we
Hi.
supposed to come in on the Royal Tenenbaums thing? I
Did
feel
we
like
miss our
don't
cue?
worry about that. We haven't even really established
Royal.
if me and Evan are supposed to do that at the same time. We just kind of always do and
We're just
assume people can
improving.
understand it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just
like
assume that digitally it just syncs up, because
Yeah.
it's we're playing with a
Magic.
lot of variables here, and half the time it works.
We're very happy to be here.
yes, thrilled.
Yeah. Glad to have you both. How are you guys feeling about this fall movie season? As we're on the almost the eve of Wicked for Good. I don't know if you all
Oh
are
my
big
God.
Wicked fans.
I got invited to go to a screening of that with people.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You haven't told me that.
I know.
With whom?
Some friends from college.
Do we
if you
like
can believe
them?
it. Yeah, they're good
Okay.
people.
Okay,
They're
that's
people.
good. Congratulations.
They don't have great taste in movies, but they're good people.
That's good. Yeah, I'm really over it. The marketing budget must be $1 billion because I have a Roku TV, and every time I'm not looking at it for 5 seconds, it switches over to the Wicked background,
Yeah.
and there's like Cynthia Erivo on a broom, just like sweeping across the screen.
She's in Roku City?
Yes.
she
yeah.
is.
Oh my
It's
God.
like a Wicked specific Roku
yeah,
City.
I'm hearing
Yeah.
whistling tones in my house at night. The ghost of Ariana Grande is upon us. Like, I'm ready to be done with it. And I'm a theater person. I was a theater kid for a very long time, but I never understood the Wicked thing personally.
Mm.
Sure.
I mean,
yeah.
It's
I'm
just a
pretty
little
done
too.
the product placement of it all too. Like
Yeah.
just
Yes.
like everything, the colors pink and green now like have a visceral effect on me. And I was just minding my own business doing chores in Target the other day, and I noticed that they had a whole display of Swiffer mops that are pink and green, and I was like,
Shut
we've gone
up.
too far. We've gone too
No.
far. Just let
The
me mop my
Swiffer.
house in peace.
Yeah.
Just let me clean my floors.
God.
It's not even a broom. It's not even like they plugged a broom or something.
Right.
It's a mop.
Right.
You know what? That color combo was bad to begin with. So now,
You're so
2
right.
years later, it's even worse.
Well,
Yeah.
what about the rest of the fall season? I mean, Evan and I have kind of covered how it's been a little bit of a disappointing box office and fall movie going time, and usually this is a more exciting time of the year. So have you guys seen anything that you think deserves a little more than it got, or something that you really hated? Now's the time.
The fall for us is actually more about rewatching stuff. Like
Oh.
we spent more time rewatching things that we like this fall.
Yeah, I haven't been as experimental.
We watched The Black Phone. That's like the only
The Black Phone 2.
The Black Phone 2. That's what it was.
Mm.
Yeah,
which
so
was terrible.
yeah, I'll give if I can be a hater for a second, I'll be
Yeah.
a lover in a
Sure.
moment. The Black Phone 2 made me so viscerally angry.
Yeah.
It brought out like the Irish ancestor in me who wants to like make a Molotov cocktail and throw it at a cop. Like I hated that movie so much. But we just also saw Die My Love like a week ago.
Oh yes, we
Mm.
did.
Lynn
Mm.
Ramsey has not missed yet. She will never miss. I adore that woman, and that movie is fantastic. It's
Yeah.
aging like a cheese.
Yeah.
It's delightful.
Already.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we've talked about it a lot this week where it's like every day we probably go, gosh, that movie's just getting better in my head the
Yeah.
more I think about it. You
Yeah.
know? But we've also been rewatching things like
Oh.
last year I showed Lindsay Over the Garden Wall for the first time.
Mm.
And she rented it from the library this year, and we rewatched it all in one night, and it was so lovely. She made some drinks.
We made a whole party out of
Oh,
it.
it was great.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
That was
I actually
impressive.
I missed an Over the Garden Wall watch party because Gabby and I were recording this podcast. But I will say I got my fix in because I saw the band that does the music, the Blasting
nice.
Company. I saw them live here in LA a couple weeks ago. So it was a nice little balance there.
That's
Um,
delightful.
Yeah, just really great stuff. Really great show. If y'all haven't seen that, definitely check
Okay.
it out.
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Couldn't recommend that show enough. I also watch Breaking Dawn 2 every fall.
Oh, yes. I I completely recommend watching,
Thank
even
you.
just the end, like the third act.
Exactly.
know?
I watch it for the battle on the frozen lake.
Yep,
Oh,
that's
God.
it.
That's all I
That,
want.
that like adrenaline hit is sometimes just what I need. Like I'll pull it up on YouTube. Like I'll just watch it.
Yes, me
Yeah.
too. I think I commented on the video actually. I'm positive I've commented. Oh, it's
I'm
got me
glad
through
one of
some
us
dark
has.
times. Yeah.
just hopping and being like, who's watching this in 2025? You know.
Yeah. Anyone
Me.
else still shocked with Carlisle and that twist?
Carlisle's head.
Yeah. But yeah, Evan, I agree with you. I think it's been a pretty disappointing season so far. I'm
Mhm.
pretty underwhelmed. And then anytime we go to the movies, I love watching trailers. Gabby, you like watching trailers
I
too,
love
don't you?
trailers.
I love it. I love getting there early to see what's coming out. And
Yeah.
it's been a long time since I've seen anything advertised that I'm like, oh,
Right.
yeah, I want to see that. I'm always like, okay, well, I mean, that sounds better than taking out the trash.
Yeah, I mean, we're hotly anticipating a lot of trailers on this show.
Yeah.
Evan just today texted me that apparently there's rumor of an over 5-minute long trailer for the Odyssey that will play ahead of Avatar: Fire and Ash, which I have secured tickets to, unfortunately.
Oh, Gabby.
Well, that's
Oh,
a lot
Gabby, I worry about you.
That's a lot of bro movie right there.
Oh,
That's
no. We need to intervene.
a 5-minute
Mhm.
trailer. They're just gonna play a scene, right? Like that's what
I
that
guess
has to be.
so.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
Or
like
the-
I saw that and I thought about it. I was like, what are they gonna do? Cut together a bunch of stuff, or is it just gonna be like, here's a 5-minute sneak peek? at the
Yeah.
Odyssey?
That's
Make
the
it a
thing,
short
watching-
film.
Yeah, watching 5 minutes of non sequitur is not fun. That's not enjoyable.
The only reason it'll be a trailer is because they'll do like an updated modern take on like a classic song. You know, they'll just like remix a Beatles song or something,
Right,
And
yeah.
throw it in
Charlie
there.
XCX is doing the soundtrack for this one too.
No,
Wow.
she's not.
Odysseus original Brad?
Definitely not.
Okay.
He's definitely not.
I believed you. That's where we're at in
Right,
the industry, by
right.
the way. I was like, you're
No,
joking.
Charlie XCX is reserving her time for enemy of this podcast, Emerald Fennell.
I don't even know who
Wonderful.
that person is, and it sounds like I'm better off not knowing.
Irish director,
is,
isn't
it
she?
is.
Yeah. Hmm.
Is she
Mm.
Irish or English, Evan?
I think she's English, but she owns an emerald mine, and that's what's important. And her name is
No.
Emerald.
No,
an
she
English,
doesn't.
An English person
Yes, she
owning a
does.
mine. That's
You're kidding
so
Owns a
me.
mine.
stereotypical.
Hang on. I want to look up if she's English or Irish because that's going to depend on how angry I am at her.
Also, let's confirm the mine thing.
Yeah.
No, I know.
Emerald. Vanilla. Are we just is this all just conjecture?
No,
Is this a
I'm-
podcast about spreading election fraud? What are we doing here?
Oh, she is English. Okay, so I can be super
English.
mad. That's
You-
ridiculous.
You can be really angry as
Okay.
as an Irish woman.
Yeah. gotta listen, if she was one of my country folk, I might be like, listen, it's been tough over there.
We don't know her intentions.
Yes, we don't know her family. They might need the emerald mine.
Who doesn't need an emerald mine?
I could use one.
I really could use
Yeah,
that as
that's
well.
true. Sound off in the comments if you could use an emerald mine. Well, speaking of, countries that aren't America, let's talk about a new Norwegian film, Sentimental Value.
Mm.
How did you all see Sentimental Value? Connor, Lindsay, if you would like to start.
We saw it about 2.5 hours ago at the Burbank 16.
Nice.
Wow.
Fresh
Yeah.
viewing. Okay.
Yeah, we got here just in time to turn the cameras on and start recording with you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And all-
the takes are fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we saw the 3:40 showing at Burbank 16, which was a matinee. We got 20% off because of the matinee, and a little bit more because it's Discount Tuesdays. So
We love a discount
Love.
Tuesday here.
oh,
I know.
so great. Still spent $40 on concessions.
Can you
somehow.
believe that for popcorn? This has nothing to
Yeah.
do with the movie. $40 at the concession stand.
I
So-
will not buy popcorn from AMC anymore. They need to fix their shit. I'm sorry. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I'm not putting hot canola oil on your highlighter yellow
Oh,
popcorn.
I'll drown in it. I love
Connor
it so
and I
much.
have to separate our popcorn
We
because
do.
he wants to drench it in chemicals and shit. And I'm like, I just want the popcorn.
Oh.
You're gonna ruin it. It's not butter. It's not like Kerrygold melted
No,
in
it's
there.
not.
No, it's
butter.
not. No, it's 100% vegetable oil and 100% I've got
Garbage juice.
some
They
kind of
sweep
tumor
off the
growing
street
in me
for
because
sure.
of it.
Yeah.
Garbage juice.
So yeah, we are fresh off of a viewing of Sentimental Value.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gabby, you saw it opening night, right?
I did, and so did Evan. Coincidentally, Evan and I also saw this movie at the Burbank 16 opening
Oh,
night.
nice.
we were seated in the same row during the same screening, but we were not there together. On purpose.
We needed to be known we were not there together.
We weren't. Like, it was not on purpose. That we sometimes will be like, oh, when are you seeing this? Maybe we can see it together. But this time it was just like, Evan texted me, are you going to the 6:50 screening tonight? And I said, yeah. That's
funny.
correct.
That's the most Evan and Gabby thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah. And then I saw him walk in like during the trailers, and he was just like passed right by me, and like I was waving at you, and because the lights were not totally down yet, and you like walked across just like
I was looking for you.
I could see that you were, and yet my waves went totally ignored. I see. I'm just going to have to get bigger with my hand gestures.
Because I was like, I'm wondering if Gabby's missing the trailer. She normally wouldn't do this.
I would never miss the trailers.
No.
Although, not too many good trailers ahead of Sentimental Value.
Not a ton of great ones,
I
no.
feel comfortable saying that.
And it was mostly like Neon's lineup,
It's
I
like
think.
3 Neon movies in a row. I was like, okay, is anyone else making movies out there?
I guess it makes sense. Like Neon, it's a Neon movie, so Neon's going to put a bunch before them. But yeah.
So it's also worth noting, Gabby and I, we saw it at the Burbank AMC 16. This was a big weekend for Neon. Neon was doing a special event, or you might call it, called the Fourplex. If you watched 4 Neon films between Thursday, November 13th, through Sunday, November 16th, those 4 films were Arco, Surratt, Keeper, and Sentimental Value. You would get a stamp. There were people seated at a table all weekend that would give you a stamp on a card. If you watched all 4 movies, you got all 4 stamps. The first 100 entries would win a 2025 Neon box set and a 1-year Letterboxd Pro membership upgrade.
What?
Wow.
Yeah. And to them, I say pro and not patron. That's child's play.
So, but it was really interesting because I was like, who's participating in this, right? Like, I found out about this because my friend Raymond, who hosts the Cinematology podcast, he texted me. He said, are you doing this weekend? I said, I cannot manage this weekend. No. And he was like, I got all 4 tickets purchased already. I'm going. And when he called me Friday as I was driving up in the pouring rain to go watch Sentimental Value, he called me. He said, I just finished. And I was like, well, what number were you? Like, what in the order? And he said, honest to God, I'm not kidding. The woman said, you're one of the first people to do it. I was like, he got it. He got the box set. He got the letterbox thing.
That's crazy.
And when Gabby and I were leaving the movie, there was a man talking to us about how he was very excited to do this quest, to do the Fourplex this weekend. So I thought it was really interesting.
Idea.
I like that as a concept. Absolutely. I think it seems only accessible to writers and retirees, people who like work from home.
Yeah, it's
right?
a silver woman deal.
Yeah.
I do wonder if your person number 101 that finishes, right? Like, what do you get?
Right.
If they're like, oh, sorry, we just ran out of the box set, but we might have something else,
They
might have like
handshake.
A t-shirt
from the very nice people manning the Neon table. Anyways, I thought that was cool. I wish I had heard about it beforehand. It was also only at this theater too. You could have only done it at this one theater. So it's very much like they picked one of the most popular theaters in Los Angeles for people to go to. Just some really fun stuff. Really curious if this, I don't think this is a big event that will maybe lead to other things, but curious if other stuff like this will start popping up in different facets,
Yeah, I know. Lindsey and I talk about it a good bit, but when I was solely in indie producing, I really think the future for a lot of independent cinema is like making your film an event, right? Going on road shows, making things very local to what you're trying to do. And it's cool that Neon is trying to tap into that. It seems like they're not totally hitting the mark perfectly just yet, but I think for the people who are huge fans, it's like a great kind of promotion. So it's exciting to see that studios like Neon are trying to reach out and do bigger things like that. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, there was a small, I guess you could call it, filmmaking collective called Camp Studios. They work with up and coming kind of creators who make very cinematic, Instagram reels or TikToks or what have you. They say these people should make movies, put them on the big screen, right? They recently have just produced and are distributing, I guess, or screening their first feature film, Two Sleepy People. and they chose which cities to screen it at via Instagram poll. They or TikTok.
Awesome.
They literally were just like, where do you want us to show it? And people voted. They took it on a roadshow, just like you were suggesting, and now they're screening it in 30 theaters across the country. And so it's funny to see that happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that's American Baron. He's awesome.
Yes,
I've
yeah.
been watching his content for a long time, and I read his Substack. I think it's really cool the kind of the journey he's gone on with his film stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't quite very familiar with him before seeing the movie, so was quite impressed and interested in checking his stuff out. Let's talk about the movie. Yeah, we can introduce it here. Sentimental Value premiered at the Cannes Film Festival in May 2025, was released in theaters November 14th, 2025. The film was directed by Joachim Trier. You might know him from his award-winning film Worst Person in the World, which came out a couple years ago. Written by Trier and Eskil Vogt. Produced by Maria Eckhoff, Andrea Bernstein Otmar, starring Renata Reinsve, Stellan Skarsgard, Inga Ibsdotter Lilleaas, and Elle Fanning. The movie follows two sisters, Nora and Agnes. After the death of their mother, they're forced to confront their estranged father, Gustav, a once-renowned filmmaker seeking to reclaim his former glory with an autobiographical film. Very curious what you all thought about Sentimental Value. Gabby, what did you think?
Okay, so we walked out of this movie together. As it was established, we did not enter together, but we did leave together. And I remember saying to you that I liked Worst Person in the World better. And I mean, Worst Person in the World I really liked and connected with at the time it was released. I was so excited to see it. And so Sentimental Value has been a really highly anticipated film for me. And I don't think it was a letdown or in any way. It took much longer to hit me than Worst Person in the World. Like Worst Person in the World felt like personal. Like it felt like almost like an attack to the part of my life that I was in when I saw it. And the Sentimental Value feels a little more like a film that you have to sit with longer after it's ended. And it creeps up on you. Like it crept up on me, like when I had, in the days following, and I found myself just still thinking about it and the ideas that are presented in it, and about my sister, about my father. Like I was just thinking more than I did after Worst Person in the World. So I think that this movie will stay with me longer. Is my answer. I don't know if that means I like it more than Worst Person in the World, but I'm not sure. I'll have to see. But I really enjoyed the viewing experience. I liked watching it.
Yeah, Lindsay, Connor, how about you both?
Lindsay, why don't you go?
I disliked this movie quite
Ooh.
strongly. I wanted to leave halfway through. I think if I had not been with Connor, I probably would have left halfway through. And the reason for that is like I get it. I get it. Like halfway through, I'm like, okay, I understand. And there's no more plot. There's no more exploration coming after a certain point. It feels a little bit like we're just going to keep sitting in this living room and watch this family kind of circle the living room. And I think it's very European filmmaking, actually. I've any French movie I watch, it's a lot of like building up and then there's no climax. It's just like, it just kind of disappears. And I'm noticing that in this movie as well. And I noticed it in Worst Person in the World, but I felt like with Worst Person in the World, there was still like some tension. It's like he would pull on the string and it would be taut for a second and then he would let go and it would be a little loosey-goosey and then it would get tense again. And with this movie, I never felt tense. I didn't feel uncomfortable. I didn't feel close particularly to any of the characters. If any character, I felt close to Agnes, who is very much a supporting character in this story. But I felt like very interested in her, and anytime she was on screen, I was very interested. There were some scenes in this movie that I thought were really beautiful. There's one scene in particular between Stellan Skarsgard and I think who is playing his manager or his friend, and they have this wonderful scene at a kitchen table, and I'm like,
oh, that was beautiful.
If this was the movie, I could watch 5 hours of this. I mean, any time spent with Stellan Skarsgård is time well spent. I could watch that man get out of a car and go for a walk. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you and I both, not to cut you off, but we were sitting there and it's the opening of the movie and Stellan Skarsgård just gets out of the car.
Yes.
And Lindsay and I look at each other and we're like, oh,
God, that was
what
good.
a guy, what a man.
Yeah.
He inhabits it so easily.
Yeah.
Like he just puts it on.
That's the
without-
character
without
intro.
effort. Yeah.
That's it. Just him getting out of the car. And I was like, I'm in for that. I'm sitting for this movie. I can't wait to see this movie. And then I felt pretty disappointed and was left feeling a little hollow afterwards. But what do you think, Connor?
I won't say I disliked it. I think it's like 40 minutes too long to me. I'm with Lindsay where it's like I understand. Like I got it. I got the point like 30 minutes ago. And I don't know, to me there's a certain amount of like promises you make as a filmmaker or as a writer and progress that I get to see as an audience member. And I felt like this film lacked a lot of kind of progress and promises and resolution. It was a lot of, we talked about it in the car, not too much, so we could save it for the podcast, but it in Western media, in Western movies specifically, there's a lot of, the idea is like come in late to a scene, get out early from a scene, right? And that way there's always kind of tension and you can kind of play off of that. And with this one, we're seeing the entirety. We're seeing them walk into the scene and then we're seeing them walk out of the scene. And for my personal taste, that's not exactly it. It feels like a lot of dead air. And it felt accidental because it's like sometimes the dead air felt heavy. The silences between characters felt very heavy. And other times the dead air was just like,
Can someone forget a line?
Yeah, can we cut to the next scene? Like, let's, and maybe that's very American of me. Maybe I don't get it. I'm also not super into like inside baseball movies.
Yeah.
I work in the film industry. I know what it's like. It feels a little too like hyper meta to watch a movie about a movie to me. That's just a personal taste thing.
I know. I did not love. I thought because the father is a director and the daughter is an actress.
Yes.
And I thought that was going to be like the backdrop to the conflict, but then it turned out to be a much bigger part of the plot than I was expecting. You had like Elle Fanning sitting at a table with Stellan Skarsgard and he's acting like the director and she's like, I can't find it. Like, what does this line mean? And I'm like, I can't watch it. This is painful. Like, I can't watch an actress talk about her lines and dye her hair and try to put on a Norwegian accent.
That's the thing. Like I've sat, I'm sure, Gabby, you've also sat in rooms of table reads and just been like, okay, I would like to go to lunch, please. Exactly.
Time's ticking. Yeah.
Exactly.
Time's ticking.
Exactly. So for me, I don't really want to go to a movie and watch the thing at work that makes me crazy, but I can see why I did well at Con.
They love that stuff.
They love
Very
that
European.
Stuff.
Yeah,
Very European.
They love the tortured
Very
artist.
European.
Yeah.
Evan, what did you think?
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of where y'all are, how y'all are feeling. There's a lot of aspects of this that I do like, but I think exactly what you're describing, that the movie does suffer a little bit when it is like a movie about making a movie in a certain sense, and there are all these things that aren't maybe as accessible to people who aren't as familiar with like the industry or like how a movie's made, like for example, like the pseudo conflict that comes up when he can't like hire his friend because his friend is older. But that beyond that, when I was watching the movie, I think there was a scene in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, I think, which is a crazy pull right now for this, but where I believe she is talking with someone who has purported to have made like the greatest painting ever. This is either Marvelous Mrs. Maisel or Mad Men, right? And it's, this painting is supposed to be legendary. It's supposed to be this big thing. And the show, whichever show it is, decides to do this great thing where they never show you this painting, right? You as the audience, you're waiting this whole time. You're like, oh my God, I want to see the thing that's supposed to be so great that they're talking about. You never see it. This movie teases that there's this really great thing, this script. It's incredible. It's not about his mother. It's about his daughter the whole time. And by the time we get to the point where we're revealing what this script is, some of the things that you're reacting to, like the dead air or feeling detached, I think is kind of where I felt too, where the opening of the film is great, and we get this really amazing scene with Renata Reinsve playing Nora, just like she's trying to capture this performance, is not figuring out, she's nervous about being on stage. And then we just kind of float around for a long time. And when we finally get to what this movie that her father wants to make is, well, maybe some spoilers there, so I'll kind of hold back a little bit. But I don't know if like this thing that is having this effect on these characters, that is kind of this driving force of the movie, was effective once we know more about it. And to Gabby's point, I have been thinking about the movie a lot. I think especially in relation to the pairing that we've put it with. I've been thinking a lot about this, this generational trauma, and like how we communicate to our family members, and the things that are communicated in ways that are maybe not not verbally. Like, how else do we communicate to one another? All that being said, yeah, I did walk out just feeling not sure about that. I think the exact lines I told Gabby were, I was like, I think this movie is better, but I like Worst Person in the World more, and I don't like Worst Person, or maybe I flipped it. I don't know. I'd have to rewatch the Worst Person in the World. Yeah.
I love this idea of family trauma, or like sins of the father. I'm obsessed with that genre of film. I think it's fantastic. If that thread of like the grandmother's storyline and the dad's storyline and the daughter's storyline had been a little bit more expertly woven together, I think I would have loved this movie. And I thought they were going to go in that direction. So I'm like waiting for it to happen. And then about halfway through, I realized, oh, we're not really going to get that.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because it's so interesting. I'm like, the daughter is not behaving like the father. She's behaving like the grandmother. And he doesn't know what to do because he didn't know how to interact with his mother either. So I'm like, that's such an interesting dynamic. Like, that feels like the movie. And it feels like we like flew over that.
I know it kind of felt like a lot of the scenes. I don't know if anybody else felt like this. It just at the end of a lot of scenes, and I don't normally feel this way in movies. At a certain point, probably like halfway through, I was like, okay, why am I watching this scene right now? Why am I being shown this? Because it doesn't feel vital. It doesn't feel like it's like a part of the vital makeup of this film and the story. Which, as far as movies go, it's like, cut out the excess, cut out all the fat. That's like what we're going for here, right? And there's artistry, like a very artistic movie. I think beautifully shot, a lot of interesting directions they took it in, and I appreciate the European value of kind of showing the in-between moments, giving us a pillow shot of something that might not have made it because of it's not being efficient enough. I like that. I appreciate that. But when it becomes kind of the whole thing, I'm like, okay, now you're not making choices. It's just kind of dump trucking onto me.
It feels indulgent.
A little bit. Indulgent is a great word.
Yeah.
Indulgent's a great word for it. Yeah.
Yeah, and particularly in those scenes of like the film coming together, it definitely lingers in that, and it does feel a little bit tongue in cheek, where they're like trying to be like, look how hard it is to put together all of these aspects. I'm like, yes, I know, but to Connor's point, I wonder if that's just us, like, because we're so familiar with it.
Yeah.
I wonder if people not as familiar with the film industry would care as much as we did. But those were the least interesting pieces of the movie to me. I was very engaged anytime that there was a scene between Nora and Agnes, between the sisters, when I think that there's a scene where early on in the film where Nora tells Agnes, like, well, of course you're fine with him with dad being back here. Like, you never confront him, or you're not able to talk to him. And there's a scene towards the end where, of course, Agnes does confront him. And I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, what is she going to say? Like, is she going to say everything she wants to say at this moment? Is she going to hold back? Like, what is in store kind of here? And I wish that in those moments it had delved deeper. But I think I would have, any reservation that I have still lingering about the movie would have been solved, to Lindsay's point, if like this family dynamic was woven together tighter than the emphasis on the film. And they tell you so many times, like, oh, it's a brilliant script. It's so good. It's so this. And I'm like, and then we hear the scene, and I mean, sure, okay. But we like, okay.
Exactly.
Good.
That's exactly what came out of my mouth.
Yeah. Like, I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying, like, okay, the subject matter just seems like more the point than the actual. I think even there's a line, like the sister, Agnes says, oh, it's a little overwritten, but, you know.
Oh my God. So it's not even that good.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But like we see Agnes, like she's like reading the script, she's brushing her teeth, like she gets so absorbed with it, right? Like, and it feels almost like if we had just at this point, let's go full spoilers mode, because I feel like I'm tiptoeing around the end. So hard right into Spoilerville here. If we had not seen any of Elle Fanning's reading of it, Nora reading it when she's kind of like coming back to reality with her sister taking care of her. If we had just seen that scene at the end where he describes the scene, and he describes the final scene of the movie to Elle Fanning. We see him block the scene out in the house with her. He's like, you're going to do this. This is where the rope is. And it's basically the main character in the film, who is inspired by his mother, committing suicide. Both of these films deal heavily with, issues of mental health and self-harm. So if that is something that's sensitive to you, might be good to click off now. However, this scene happens. He blocks the scene. We get the rest of the movie of teasing what this dialogue is. We have, Gabby and Lindsey's reactions of going, sure. But then the last scene of this movie is that scene. It's that scene with Nora now stepping into the role that Elle Fanning's character, Rachel Kemp, has now exited. Nora is now in this role. She's performing the last scene. We know what's happening. We know where it's heading. And I'll be honest, like, this is one of those last scenes that I do think is, like, very, very effective for me. And I just sit there when the credits roll and be like, did it earn it, though? I just don't know if it earned it.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I felt. I was like, I love this as this ending as a concept. Like, I think that this is like the perfect way, the only way to end this film, because frankly, I don't want to end it with just like, oh, I love you, Dad, or like, oh, I like, like it wouldn't feel also true to the story or true to these characters that are very distant, that are very, fractured in their way from each other, to just have like some big reconciliation moment. I don't think that would feel earned either. But I there's just something about it, and I'm not sure if it's the scene itself or just the heavy emphasis on this film as like, this will be the thing that heals my relationship with my family. But something about it doesn't sit right, no matter how much I like appreciate the concept of that as the ending, to your point, Evan.
Yes, I agree with both of you. I talking about like mental illness in this movie, I don't think that topic was handled with any interest.
Yeah. 100% agree.
Right? Because like so clearly like the grandmother suffered from all you can imagine. Like she was kidnapped by Nazis and kept in a prison camp.
Tortured.
There's trauma there, no matter what. That's really a fascinating place to start when you're talking about the family tree and family dynamics. But again, that just felt like wallpaper, and they never delved into it. And something that really kind of irked me that when we were driving home is this idea that like depression doesn't have to run in your family for you to feel depressed the way that Nora does. Like your childhood doesn't have to be god awful to be a depressed adult. Everything could be perfectly picture normal and you could still end up being a very sad person. Like that's totally possible. But I feel like the movie was flirting with this border of like it was her dad's fault. It's because the dad left and they kept saying that the childhood was so awful. I didn't see an awful childhood. I saw a beautiful big home. I saw a famous father who was, yes, not present, but a loving mother who was present, and two sisters who had each other. And then one of them went off to become a famous actress, and the other one got married and had a kid. So I'm like, I'm seeing this really beautiful picture, and everybody is approaching 30, and we're still pointing at dad as the reason for the unhappiness. I don't think we're dealing with the actual problems here.
Yeah.
See, maybe it's too generous of me to read it this way, but I read it as blame, like exactly what you're kind of pointing out. Like I kind of read it as, okay, we're approaching the points in our lives where we would have to face our own issues. Our mother is no longer here. It's just the two of us and maybe dad. So maybe instead of, looking inward and reflecting on these uglier parts of ourselves, whether they are, inherited, whether they have been passed on to us or implied to us or not, let's blame dad, because that's kind of where we can agree that we both have issues with him, kind of, rather than talking to each other.
Exactly.
And that I related to. I completely, like, just a deeper level. I was like, okay, yeah, my sister and I have absolutely done this, where we just sit around and we're like, oh my God, mom and dad, what's going on? That my most generous read of this film or this dynamic is that the father is the center of blame, and it's not necessarily that, it's what they can come together on. It's what these sisters can agree on. They're both at these points in their lives where they would have to start looking inward and, reflecting on what is fractured within themselves and their relationships and their careers. And instead of doing that, now that their mother is no longer with them and maybe their dad is back in the picture, they're just agreeing that they can agree to agree their dad is a problem or has caused them a lot of pain or has, ruined the vision that they had of their childhood, which, yeah, to Lindsay's point, looked okay. Like it looked okay. Like, yeah, there were parents arguing, there was, an absent father, but not necessarily the worst portrayal of a childhood I've ever seen on film. So I just think, yeah, they're coming together to blame Gustav in this way because they don't want to deal with their own separate issues, whether they've been passed down, generationally, or they're just self-inflicted or, circumstantial, is kind of not explored, which I would have liked more of.
Yeah, I agree. I really do think, like, the thing that you said that I'm touching on, or that's perking me up a little bit, is like self-inflicted. A lot of it, and I don't know if it's purposeful. I imagine it is film. A lot of it seems to be self-inflicted, either virtue or ignorance, where we see Gustav be very aware when he's directing Elle Fanning in the film that they're rehearsing for, about the themes, about the heaviness and the heavy nature of the story itself. But he always stops right before he goes a little bit too inward and too reflective, right? And so that's kind of the frustrating thing about this film, I think, for the two of us, was like, it almost gets there. It keeps almost getting there, and then it kind of stops and then doesn't address it, which maybe that's on purpose, maybe that's not, but
maybe it's the point. Maybe that they're trying to reflect a little bit of, of the characters in the filmmaking choice to just go just surface level, just approaching it, just to tease you, just to make you think about it, to make the audience think about it. And I mean, that did work on me, but yeah, as a filmmaker or, a storyteller, I would think that it takes a lot of restraint not to go deeper. But yeah, I'm not sure if it's in service of if the film is better for it or not.
Yeah, I mean, like, kind of a generous way to think about it too, in that sense, is that, like, the reasons that he can't go deeper, so to speak, right, is, the film that he's trying to cast his daughter in. It's almost like that's the conversation that he's trying to have with her, right? Like, as we touched on earlier, the conversations he couldn't have with his mother that drove her, to, the fact that she was unable to express that in her personal life, but was so very comfortable, telling it to, like, an official, her accounts in that camp or wherever she was imprisoned are very publicly available, right? But it's not something she had talked to him about. So I think there is that, like, this reading of it where it's like this movie is that conversation they're able to have, and they're unable to get to that level because they need the other person to buy in, right? And that's what we get in that like synthesis there and the final scene. Because they still don't say anything, right? But it's how they're working through that scene and those glances at the end of just like this knowing and her kind of taking that time for herself behind that closed door and looking. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and you guys touched on it earlier. I think this was the correct ending, but the wrong middle. It's like very Kuleshov in that way, right? Where we've got a pretty solid opening. I think the ending is the correct ending for this film, but everything in the middle makes it so that the ending isn't satisfying or satisfying enough.
Doesn't feel earned.
Doesn't feel earned. That's a good way to put it. It doesn't feel earned. Yeah.
It's a little bit like a couple who have hated each other the entire movie. They're just fighting and they're throwing stuff, and she says, "You're just like your father," and he says, "You're just like your mother," and then they get married. And that's the end of the movie. You're like, wait, where was the part where they liked each other?
Right.
Good point. Good points all around.
Yeah.
Speaking of movies that are less frustrating to us, but with just more or less daddy issues, I want to say more, but
I think
more overt daddy issues.
Oh yeah.
Let's dive into the Royal Tenenbaums. Welcome back. We are here to talk about our second movie of the day, The Royal Tenenbaums, which premiered at the New York Film Festival way back in October of 2001. Directed by Wes Anderson, written by Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson, produced by Anderson, Barry Mendel, and Scott Rudin, starring Gene Hackman, Angelica Houston, Ben Stiller, Luke Wilson, Gwyneth Paltrow, Owen Wilson, Bill Murray, Danny Glover, and the vocal stylings of Alec Baldwin.
Good Lord. What a
That's the
stacked
most
cast.
Wes Anderson cast I've ever heard.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I
Whoa.
can almost recite that cast off the top of my head. Like, I almost don't need to look at the outline at all. I know it at this point. It's in me. But in case the Royal Tenenbaums is not in you, the Royal Tenenbaums is about a man named Royal Tenenbaum who reunites with estranged, down on their luck children and ex-wife, claiming to have stomach cancer in order to move back into the family's home and maybe their hearts.
That was a great log line, Gabby.
Yeah.
Are you a writer?
I wish.
Oh boy.
I know this is the second Scott Rudin movie we've seen this week. The other being
Ooh, what was the first?
Julie and Julia.
Gabby, does that movie fill
Classic.
you with the kind of rage it fills me with?
I hate that movie.
I hate that movie so much. hate
I
it.
wanted better for Nora Ephron is my take. But
Yeah.
Me too. I'm
Yeah.
so
but
glad that you agree with me.
that is maybe my least favorite Nora Ephron movie, but Royal Tenenbaums is maybe my favorite Wes Anderson movie. It really
Oh,
depends on the
really?
day. It
What
depends
a
on the
take.
day for me and Wes Anderson. But it was also probably the first Wes Anderson movie I saw, so maybe it just holds
Mm.
a special place in my heart. But yeah, that's interesting to hear you say that, Connor. What is your favorite Wes Anderson movie?
Well, I've
If
got a
not
theory. I've got a theory.
Oh brother,
that-
he's got a theory.
Because Wes Anderson has made, I want to say, close to 10 films now.
Yeah,
11
sounds right.
films. He's closing on
Yeah.
a dozen. But I think every Wes Anderson movie, and the favorite one that you pick, tells a lot about you, the kind of person you are. It can be like one of those Enneagram or like personality tests, where you get like
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah,
the
yeah.
sage.
The one with all
I'm
the
the
letters. Mhm.
yeah. INFPJ or whatever it's called.
Yes, that one.
So for me, my favorite Wes Anderson movie is The Darjeeling Limited.
Holy
Oh
cow.
my
No one
God.
ever
Of course
says
it is.
that,
No-
and that's my favorite
oh
too.
my God.
Hey, there we go, Evan. Let's go.
Yep.
Let's go.
It's
Wow.
a good pick.
It's my
That is a
it's my
good pick.
girlfriend's
Love that
favorite.
movie
It's like
so much. So
Yeah.
much.
that's so funny that like
Yeah.
I swear like I had never met somebody who said that was their favorite, and like this year alone 3 people in my life have been like, this is my favorite Wes Anderson movie.
I truly think it is one of the most beautiful movies he's made.
2
Like,
people
truly
on one
of them.
podcast is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
wild.
crazy.
That's wild.
That's nuts.
Lindsay, I
And
know Royal
Lindsay.
Tenenbaums is up there for you.
Grand Budapest is my all-time.
Yeah.
It's your favorite. Oh, she's wearing the
Yeah.
Mendel shirt.
Grand Budapest is my all-time favorite. I don't think you're alone in thinking that Royal Tenenbaums is like the best or that it's your favorite, because I think Royal Tenenbaums was the first movie of Wes Anderson's to really break through to a mainstream audience. Like Bottle Rocket and Rushmore had like cult followings, but they were still so indie that it was still like, oh yeah, there's this promising guy maybe coming out of Texas, but we'll see what those kids got. And then the Tenenbaums came out and it was like, oh, he understands how to use scale. All these huge actors want to work with him, and they have continued to work with him over the course of his career.
He's got
and
an
it's
incredible like company of people to pull of actors.
Insane. Angelica Houston.
Right.
Man, I could look at her all day.
This is interesting because I think this cast is like the least overlap with his future collaborations, right? Like a lot of these people don't come back in his future films. We don't get Ben Stiller again. We don't get Gwyneth Paltrow. We don't get Danny Glover.
True.
I don't think we get Angelica Houston. This is like a weird one where like not only did the Hollywood
Angelica
stars.
Houston,
she's in Life Aquatic. Yeah, she is.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
But you know, Gene Hackman, I think, hated being on this movie.
Did he
and
actually?
So
Really?
this one's interesting because, like, this, to your point, Lindsay, like, this is his big launching point, right? Like, this is the Hollywood stars, like, people that are known commodities. Obviously, Bill Murray, but was in his other films. But regardless, really plussing this up, and I don't know. This is I hate that liking Royal Tenenbaums so much is kind of like a cliche, because when I first watched this film, I think I watched it 3 times in 1 week, and I got sick of it. But I was so enamored by it that I was like, all right, this day, watch it on DVD, just run it back like every following day. So I was really nervous to revisit this movie.
It's special, and I think it's also the first movie where we see Wes Anderson really step into the style of himself, because Bottle Rocket is still pretty loosey-goosey, but you see, like, okay, I'm seeing where Wes Anderson might be going.
Right.
And then with Rushmore, you're like, okay, no, the symmetrical camera and the very stylized acting, the kind of dry humor. But then Royal Tenenbaums comes out. Yeah. And it's like you've got cars crashing into like West Side apartments, and you've got Owen Wilson in a cowboy hat. And by the way, Owen Wilson in this movie was plucked directly from my sexual fantasies as a 14-year-old. That's insane that he shows up that way. Oh my God. Whoa.
I mean, one of my all-time favorite movie lines is literally like, so everyone knows Custer died at the Battle of Little Bighorn. What this book presupposes is, what if he didn't? It's so
it just
good.
Ends there. So funny. So funny. But there's this great line. I don't know how. I think it was just the framing, knowing that all of us were going to come in and talk about bad dads of cinema.
Yeah.
But there was this line in the Royal Tenenbaums that Gene Hackman says, where he says, can't someone be a shit their whole life and then try to make up for it at some point? And I'm like, I've never heard that line before. I've seen this movie maybe 10 times.
Right.
But it only hit me just now.
I know you and I both kind of clocked that last night.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, that's great.
And that is such a characteristic of bad dads in real life and in cinema, where they're like, come on. Yes.
It's like basically the thesis of the whole movie.
It
like
really
for
is.
him and for all 3 of his children. Like, can't we have like done great things and also do less great things and maybe fuck up sometimes, and you still like are able to be loved and forgiven? Can we?
Can we? It's an open-ended question.
We still, I'm waiting for Wes Anderson to answer that for us.
Yeah.
Truly.
I don't think he knows.
My favorite line in this movie is, "I'm sorry for your loss. Your mother was a terribly attractive woman."
That's so like a divorced dad trying to be nice about his ex-wife.
Right.
Just like you lean on whatever you got, you know? Like she was your mother.
Right. Right. I know Wes Anderson we were talking about this last night because so we watched this movie last night. We watched The Royal Tenenbaums.
Yeah, for a little refresher.
We're pretty fresh on both of these movies, but we were saying like how Wes Anderson picks the oddest stories to fixate on and tells them in a way that only he could do, with the kind of Wes Anderson grace that he brings to the table. Any other director would not be able to approach this story and tell it in a way that doesn't feel creepy or weird or stilted or all over the place. He somehow throws all of the spaghetti at the wall and ends up with a beautiful painting at the end of it. And it's really masterful work, the way that he's able to manage everything that he builds in the Royal Tenenbaums. All the strings, it's like a big nucleus, and everything's just kind of floating around. All these atoms are flying all over the place, and then by the end, it's like beautifully made.
Yeah, Connor and I have worked in production for a long time, like separately, but then we've also started working together. And it becomes very clear that it is rare for a director to have true vision for a story. Most people in LA want to be a director, and then sometimes they get lucky and they get the opportunity and they show up and they've got no idea what they want. And I think it's refreshing watching a Wes Anderson movie because it's so clear what he wants.
Yes.
And it's so clear what he's communicating. And he takes care of you. It's like Dustin Hoffman acting. You're like, he's got it. I don't,
right.
I don't
exactly.
need to police him.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I just looked up the budgets. So Rushmore was a $10 million budget, and then the Royal Tenenbaums was a $21 million budget.
Holy mackerel.
Which that's a huge amount of money. But with the Royal Tenenbaums, I feel like most of that money ended up on the screen. It doesn't feel like it was wasted on marketing. It doesn't feel like it was wasted on like cast salaries. I feel like we saw everything. All the money went back into the film. And that's, I mean, I think the cast that Wes has worked with have kind of echoed that sentiment. They all stay in kind of lower end hotels. They kind of eat the cost on this one. They don't get paid.
Scale.
Yeah, they work for scale.
Mm-hmm.
They get paid very little, but they love doing it. They love doing it because they love working with Wes so much. And I think that speaks a lot to his character as a director.
Yeah, it's definitely become kind of like an experience, right? Like the atmosphere he creates on set, and like you were saying, Lindsay, like his vision, and people want to participate in that, right? Whether or not they get called back, I think they just want that experience of working with him. Actually, I told Gabby I was watching the movie, and I had a dream later that night that I was on set shadowing Wes Anderson. And I was like, please let this never end. I was like, all I want to do is just be here right now. And, you know, like you were saying earlier, Connor, like he has this approach to stories that he can only tell. It's something I've always loved about his work. You know, Gabby and I talked about the Phoenician Scheme earlier this year, but I love the way, you know, outside his production design and like the meticulousness of the frames, I've always loved how he like meditates on grief and on, you know, the connections that we have or lack thereof. You know, the relationship between siblings, like that's why I love Darjeeling Limited so much. Like these three siblings who just like can't figure it out, who all have different things, and you know, we see the disconnect between these three siblings in this movie, as well as like with their father as well, and just how you know, they're not really able to communicate with each other. Which when we left Sentimental Value, Gabby was like, I don't know what we're gonna pair this with, and I was like, Royal Tenenbaums, like let's do it. Let's do this dad trying to make good the only way he can.
This just like really rolled off the top of your head less than 10 minutes after seeing Sentimental Value, and I thought it was really like one of your more inspired picks, just because of the generational traumedy of it all, and you know, both of these movies kind of being about seeing your parents as flawed individuals and kind of recognizing their mistakes, or recognizing their past, like, you know, indiscretions and, you know, things that impacted you as a child or later as an adult, and choosing whether or not you're going to accept those things about them and forgive them, or, you know, be able to recognize those own things in yourself. You know, like I think that a underrated part of this movie, watching it again, was Chaz as a dad. Like he's the only other one that has children. And seeing how he is parenting and like recognizing, you know, himself as a dad in his dad, was, you know, an interesting echo, but I didn't really pick up on in the past few viewings I've had of this movie. And maybe it was just, as Lindsay was saying, I knew we were going to talk about like dads and fatherhood, but you know, I feel like Chaz in this movie is trying so hard, especially with the loss of his wife, to be like an overbearing, like really attentive, overprotective father, because it's like a direct response to how he feels he was not raised by Royal Tenenbaum.
Yeah. One of the key differences between this movie is obviously the tones of these two movies are so starkly different.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the Royal Tenenbaums still feel, for all of the trauma and craziness that's going on screen, it still feels very warm. And Gene Hackman as a bad dad is treated more like, God, aren't you pathetic? Just like this air of like, you're so desperate and so lonely, and like you feel bad for him. So you feel a little bit more willing to forgive him by the end. At least that was my experience of it. I'm like, get ice cream with him. You know, you don't have to tell him your
Yeah.
secrets, but get ice cream with him. Let him hang out with the grandkids. And on the other hand, with Sentimental Value, Stellan Skarsgard, that air of patheticness hurts a lot more, and I think it's harder for everybody in that movie to look at. Because the scene where it's most obvious to me is when he goes to see his DP that he's worked with for all these years throughout his career. They've won all these awards together. And then he shows up and his DP is noticeably old. And it's the first time that we really see Skarsgård be like, I'm also old.
Yeah.
When did I get so old? And it's like having to reckon with that. And it's dealt much more like with a glacial pace of just like the slow pressing in of like painful recognition. But with Gene Hackman, he's just like, all right, I used to be an attorney, but now I'll be a lobby boy. And I'll get my kids back. You
Yeah.
know?
I said I had
Yeah.
stomach
Such a tonal
cancer. Is that what I
departure.
said? I said I had stomach cancer, right? Is that the
Come
cancer
on,
I said I
can't you
had?
forgive me.
That leads into kind of what Evan was talking about, which is something that I think Wes Anderson approaches a lot in his films, which is people's inability to communicate with other people. That's a theme that I think you find throughout his filmography. And it's not that they don't communicate, it's that they struggle to communicate, which you see in this movie specifically, where, you know, characters will say something and another person will go, huh? And the other person goes, nothing. And it's just, it's like you're missing the thing. It's like everything's flying past because you don't see the world the way this other person does. Because it would be obvious to Luke Wilson, if he was Owen Wilson, how Owen Wilson sees the world, but it's not. It would be obvious to Gene Hackman how Ben Stiller sees the world, but it's not, because they're so like diametrically opposed in many ways, right? And because of that lack of communication, there's a sense of control that nobody feels. People feel out of control in the movie, right? Ben Stiller's character is the best example of that, where
Yeah.
it's his wife has died, and he's not just a helicopter parent. He's trying to like grip life and be like, I need control over this thing. I need to get it back because things are happening that I don't want to happen, and I don't know what to do, right? And I think you see that kind of echoed in a lot of things that's happening to Gene Hackman, where his life has led to nothing and it's falling apart in front of him. You see it with Luke Wilson because his career didn't work out the way it did, and now he can't fall in love with the person that he wants to be in love with, right? Everyone has that. It's so beautifully interwoven that I could talk about it for way too long. So I won't. And whereas if you compare it to Sentimental Value, I feel like there's not a lack of misunderstanding. It's that they're when they talk, they're talking to each other very plainly, but something's just not getting through. And I think that's where I, as an audience member, like, I don't get what you guys aren't getting. I get it as an audience member. I understand what you guys are saying. So why aren't you guys getting it? Right? That's kind of how I compare the two.
Yeah, and like a quick note on the interwovenness too, I feel like we didn't really touch on Agnes's storyline as like being a star in her father's film at a very young age, right? And I thought that was so interesting, and you're almost like, maybe she should have been the main character, because now she's, you know, like that's almost like, should she return to acting? I mean, that's never explored, but like, could you have condensed it to be one relationship? But when you open it up to the trio of them, then we're like, well, it might have been nice to spend more time with each of the daughters in their lives, you know, and seeing and just getting more of a sense of who they are in it without it being in relation to just their father in that sense.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because in the Royal Tenenbaums, we see so much of the children without their father. We see so many things without them having to rely on their father for it, right? Whereas the father kind of casts a shadow, they still exist outside of him. And the movie is based on a lot of memory, right? It's they're surrounded by the trappings of their childhood that weren't perfect, and how do they escape that if they even want to escape it? Do they want to escape it? It's a lot of interesting questions all kind of layered on top of each other.
Yeah, and I think Chaz, Ben Stiller's character in Royal Tenenbaums, kind of mirrors Nora in Sentimental Value, because those two don't forgive their father. They're very reticent to move any closer or to walk through the door that their dads are now opening. But I think with Ben Stiller's character, his character is treated with much more petulance. It's seen as like, God, you're really just breaking down. Like, we're in on the joke a little bit with that one. We're like, you're breaking down. This last year has been bad for you, and now you have to deal with your father, who you don't enjoy, and who you are not
another
close to,
factor,
and who you have bitterness with.
Yeah,
another factor to Connor's point of, but he can't control his father coming back into his life. Like Royal Tenenbaum is just kind of like choosing to be a wrecking ball in this moment, and like, is barely even aware of everything that his kids are going through. Like, is not really aware of their lives as adults. It seems like he's been largely absent, or that they have, chosen not to share these things with him, these life events. And, none of them get the choice. Royal Tenenbaum's just like, I'm here, and I would like you to forgive me and accept me as your father, so that I don't feel like a loser anymore.
Gabby, that's such a good point, because what we're seeing through all the characters, all of their foibles are the things that they can control, right? Ben Stiller's active control is controlling his children and controlling his business. Gwyneth Paltrow's character, her control is keeping secrets.
And smoking.
Yeah. And Luke Wilson's
really
character...
Sexily.
Yeah, very. And depressed. And Luke Wilson's character's control is leaving the thing that he built, and then ultimately trying to take his own life. That's like, he seems to be the character that's so far out of control that he has to figure out a way to take it back. Yeah, exactly.
An extreme, a very extreme way of getting back in control. And I just think the controlled elements of Sentimental Value almost have the opposite effect of the controlled elements in Royal Tenenbaums. Like what is so controlled in Sentimental Value gives you more of that, like, at arm's length, sterile type of feeling. Whereas in Royal Tenenbaums, it kind of pulls you in closer. It's like more of like, here's an intimacy with these characters, and here is something we're going to let you in on that is imperfect about them. Like I just think there's more. I mean, I think this is a really well written screenplay. I still think it's his best screenplay. Maybe he should call Owen Wilson up again.
Agree.
But
I agree.
Seems like they're still friends. Owen Wilson was in French Dispatch. Like, call him up.
Oh, they're buddies.
Yeah.
Okay. Wes Anderson thanked him in his Oscar speech for Henry Sugar.
Oh, he did?
Oh, I read that like every week. Yeah, it's very emotional for me.
But yeah, that's an interesting juxtaposition. It's just like how, like, the emotional control is wielded in both of these movies by both of these directors who have also co-written their scripts, so you would think that it is coming from sort of a very, known place for them. Like, it's not just random. They've been thinking about this.
For sure. I know it kind of makes me wonder, because this is a thing, Lindsay, I know I've talked to you about this concept, but there seems to be a thing in some movies where there's a guy, a male character, predominantly male character, does shitty stuff in the past that we don't see, we are told of, comes back, does cool thing, is totally absolved of any responsibility, and gets his flowers from everybody that he fucked over without having to say sorry. The movie that I'm thinking about that's like top of mind is that movie Burnt with Bradley Cooper, where he plays a chef who has fucked over people in his past, and then he comes back and then he wins a Michelin star, and everybody loves him and everybody claps, and he never has to address his past. And I like that movie, but I feel like that is an archetypal character that we see every now and then, where bad dads kind of fall under that umbrella, where we see the bad father resolve without actually having to do any of the legwork.
Yeah, I think we're much quicker in our culture to forgive a bad dad than a bad mom.
Yes.
It's much
100%.
easier to be a bad mom than it is to be a bad dad. So dads can get away with things, at least in cinema, like abandoning the entire family and leaving them in financial ruin. And then all they have to do is come back and be kind of funny.
Right.
And we're just like, it's dad, you know. But like moms, to be a bad mom is like, you missed my ballet recital when I was 9. You think I don't remember that? And it's like, you guys, man, I was working 3 jobs. Right. Like, it's just we don't carry that same forgiveness and like quirkiness over into bad mom land. I think maybe this is an extreme example, but with the movie Moonlight, it's like we're very quick to judge that mother. I mean, because she's not very present for her son. She is there. They do have a place to live. The dad is not even present. Mm-hmm. So like whatever judgment we carry for the father of the main character is like happening off screen, but we're like directly confronting the mother's decisions.
Yeah.
So we're like, you might be here, but you're doing it wrong.
That's an interesting irony about having things on screen moving up in terms of our attention and our importance. Establishing with them, right?
Yeah. It's like, what, you're going to judge dad? He's not even here. And I'm like, yeah, that's part of the problem. Dad's off the hook because he left. Damn.
He wasn't here. We couldn't blame him.
Yeah. But yeah, I think what something that's funny with Gene Hackman's character in this is there's a point towards the end where Owen Wilson says, I just always wanted to be a Tenenbaum. And Gene Hackman is like, me too.
Yeah.
Which I think is a nice little window into that character. It's like, maybe part of him wanted to be a dad. He wanted to be part of the family, and he just couldn't be. He just didn't have it in him. And the Sentimental Value character, that dad, is much more like beating around several thousand bushes to get to that same point. So I wrote a script. You should read it. And just leaving the room. Like, okay, I'm supposed to take that as my dad loves me.
Well, and then the closest we get with him is when we see him directing Elle Fanning in that one scene where I forget the exact line, but Elle Fanning asks him about the motivation of a certain decision that she has to make. And then she makes a comment that's very similar to what Owen Wilson makes, which is, I always wanted to be a Tenenbaum. And then I forget what Skarsgård says, but something to the effect of like, well, yeah, that's the point. You know, or oh, me too, like that kind of thing. I forget the exact scene. I'm probably butchering it.
That's as close as he gets, and neither of his daughters are present for
that.
By
Exactly.
the way.
No, it's just Elle Fanning.
In the room.
He has made Elle Fanning cut her hair and dye her hair to look like his daughter.
Oh.
That's
creepy.
That's
by the way,
a million bushes right there. It's like I need to transfer this onto an actor. But I don't know, something that I thought about with how you're talking about Royal Tenenbaum's character is that this idea that like maybe somebody can be a bad dad, a bad parent, and still be not a bad person. Mm-hmm. You know, like I think that's kind of what this movie explores is, you know, Royal Tenenbaum, maybe he was kind of absent, maybe he was neglectful at times, you know, he was not a great husband either, but from Angelica Houston's accounts. But is he a bad person? Like, does he not deserve forgiveness? Does he not deserve, like, if he can own up to being a bad father, which he approaches in this movie ish.
Yeah.
But I think that also is something that Sentimental Value wants us to ask ourselves about Gustav. And we just, again, don't really get enough of him to make that judgment as the audience. You know, it's like, well, but is he, like, we don't get enough time with him that is not squarely about this film to judge whether or not he deserves another chance from his daughters or, you know, to be lauded as like a decent person, even if he was a bad dad, something like that. Right.
And we don't have a character who tells him, you know, I don't think you're an asshole. I just think you're a son of a bitch. Right, like he kind of needed that there,
Great
you know.
We needed him.
We needed that moment.
Needed that.
Yes.
It needed to be the 9-year-old kid. It needed to be Eric.
It needed to be Eric.
Grandpa,
right?
you're a real son of a bitch.
I know this might be going out on too far of a limb, but I wonder if it's because at the end of the day, we like Gene Hackman. You know what I mean? Like we watch him be a son of a bitch the whole movie, but gosh, there's something charming about him. And I wouldn't say I like Skarsgård. I don't think I
Yeah.
spent a single moment in the movie liking Skarsgård. I felt for him
Mm-hmm.
when he talked about getting older, when he talked about being kind of like out on the rocks, but I don't like him. And I think that's what you need in order to forgive a bad dad.
Yeah, that's a really
You
good
gotta
point.
like the guy.
It's
gotta like
certainly
the
a
guy.
choice that, like, when he goes to their house for the reception or that he's like pulling stuff out of their basement to take home with him or something. It's like just like so odd. Yeah. I think so as we start to wrap it up here, I think we'd also be remiss not to address that like both films center around a generational family home. I didn't even consider this. I love that you put this in the outline, Gabby. This is like both are taking place, that this space is a character for both films, right? Like we see the home. It actually kind of reminded me of Zemeckis' Here a little bit when we're jumping through time, when, like talking, like looking at the home in Sentimental Value. But yeah, and then the Tenenbaum home, both of these are, you know, very specifically constructed for the films, it feels like. I've probably more than likely the case for Royal Tenenbaums, and they're both beautiful in their own right. You know, Wes Anderson is his
But that is a real house. They're both real houses, which is crazy. Like, they're real homes. They're just also been constructed.
Yeah. It's just really just some beautiful stuff across the board. And one of the most heartbreaking moments to me in Sentimental Value is when the home gets remodeled at the end. That was brutal.
Oh, they deserve jail time for remodeling that house. That house was beautiful. Whoever that interior decorator is who just came in and made everything white and like modern,
millennial
clean
beige.
lines. Like, get the fuck
They
out
gave
of
the
here.
landlord
Get the
special.
fuck out of here.
I know.
What happened?
So depressing.
What happened to houses with character? The Tenenbaums house has character. That house pre-remodel has good character, good bones, even if it's built on, you know, as something else that I thought we would come back to in Sentimental Value. Like when they're doing that remodel scene, the first scene of the movie is actually the house. Like it is a shot of the house, and it's like built on like a cracked foundation, essentially, which is, you know, heavily symbolic, I suppose, doing a lot of legwork. But I thought we were gonna see that crack in the foundation get filled in. I thought we were gonna see like that part of the house again, and we don't, and that made it even worse for me in that remodel.
Yeah, there's something about ending on a sound stage where like they built a fake house that I'm like, I think this means their relationship has gotten worse, right?
Right. That was kind of what I was saying earlier. It's like this feels like all the middle part has led me to believe that this ending is not what you think it is. You're sending the wrong message with this ending.
Also, they cut back and forth between Skarsgård and Renata too many times. There was like 5 cuts. Yeah. His face, her face, right. His face, her face. Yeah. Like, we get it. They're bonding.
They had to step so far outside their own lives in order to talk about their own lives, you know? Right? They had to all take the trip around the several thousand bushes. That's really what needed to happen there.
And all the way to Pinewood Studios.
Norway's version of Pinewood Studios.
Whatever that may be.
Yeah.
Only Dad's way or the highway.
Any final notes here before we wrap it up?
I don't think so.
Let me check my beautiful notes. No, we said all this.
Yeah.
It's only a couple bullet points, but yeah.
Excellent.
I feel juiced.
I know. Thank you guys so much for having us on. This has been we don't really get to talk. We talk about movies on our podcast a little bit, but never in this much detail.
No, never.
It's very fun.
Yeah. It's very satisfying.
Yeah, why don't you tell our wonderful viewers and listeners what you do talk about on your podcast? Give us a little plug here for Hidden Rabbit.
So, you want to do our intro really quick?
Oh God.
Yeah. That's Lindsay. I'm Connor. We are Hidden Rabbits. And we run a couple of different shows. One is called I Promise This Is Interesting, where we dive down kind of the hidden gems and rabbit holes of the internet and of other places and present them to the other.
History, science, culture. I kind of touch it
the
all.
arts.
I did an episode on space once. That was really fun.
You did. And we have a lot of fun with it. And our other show is called Girlfriend Explains, where Lindsay explains internet drama and pop culture to me because I'm incredibly out of the loop, even though I'm chronically online.
Connor doesn't know anything.
I don't.
About anyone.
And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've learned more about book talkers than I think my brain wants to handle.
Yeah, well, our friend group is pretty non-problematic and lovely, so there's
Yes.
never any gossip to be had there, so I've had to outsource that to internet celebrities.
That's true. Should we like widen our circle and like bring in a son of a bitch? Like, should we just
Yeah.
bring in a good old son of a bitch to stir up some drama?
Yes, bring in a messy woman. Just a disaster
With
of
a
a
big
woman.
ugly bag of some kind. Yeah.
Yeah. Preferably with a New Jersey accent, but that's just a personal preference.
Evan's from New
Yeah.
Jersey. Evan, you got anyone? You got anyone in mind?
Please set me up.
Yeah, let's go find those old ladies from the movie club that went to see Smash
In
Machine at
Jersey?
2 p.m. on a Tuesday in New Jersey.
Love
I
where
do
that's
want to
going.
talk to them. Connor and Lindsay, would you like to tell the people where to find you?
We're on YouTube and Spotify and wherever else you might get your podcast.
Yeah. And we do have an Instagram that nobody really follows.
I'm terrible at running it. That's why nobody
Um,
follows it.
and
So
I think we're at
Ours
Hidden
as well.
Rabbits.
yes,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's rough. It's rough over there on Instagram.
Yeah,
I
it is.
remember sometimes, and other times I don't.
So yeah, our YouTube is, I believe, at Hidden Rabbits, youtube.com/@hiddenrabbits.
Yeah, everything is Hidden Rabbits, which is
Um,
surprisingly not a busy handle.
It's
So
not.
We nabbed that right up.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Yeah, definitely, check them out. You can also, follow us on Letterboxd, Back to the Pod, Instagram, Back to the Future Pod. Well, thank you all so much for listening today. And we'll catch you next time for another movie and another pairing. See ya.
Or good.
Bye, everybody.